So today we will talk about NAKIVO Backup and Replication, our software, which is we assure #1 backup and site recovery in the world. And I will explain to you why. If you gentlemen have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to ask at any time. I understand that some of you might not be well aware of the data protection industry. Some of you are very proficient in the data protection. So I will try to make this demo averagely good for everyone and easily to understand. So we will start with some general information about NAKIVO. So first of all, we have 16,000 paid customers around the world right now, more than 5,000 partners around the globe. Some of our greatest customers have more than 8,000 virtual machines, so 8,000 virtual servers, and they cover more than 300 locations. So we have come to this since 2012. This is when our company was founded. It's a privately held organization. The solution we develop is called NAKIVO Backup and Replication, and we are present on multiple markets. Those are data protection, disaster recovery, storage markets, and so on. And currently, the customers can purchase NAKIVO in every country of the world. What we sell is the software is called NAKIVO Backup and Replication, and it's a data protection software for virtual, physical, and cloud environments. We also do disaster recovery automation and orchestration with site recovery feature. And NAKIVO has advanced integration with NAS devices to create 5-in-1 backup appliances. More on this later. Well, on this slide, you can see some of the well-known brands. I'm sure you know at least some of them. And those are our partners. We are partnered with VMware, Microsoft, Nutanix, Amazon, Dell, and many other companies around the globe. So how are we partnered? Like many companies like to show the slide, the partners. I will explain how the partnership actually happens. So NAKIVO is either able to support the platform of the partner. For example, we can back up VMware VMs. So we have to partner with VMware to be able to protect their virtual machines and to be able to integrate well. And for example, with Google, we integrate because we can, customers can use their storage to send their backups to. So it's a different levels of partnership we have with those vendors. Let's talk more about the software. So why NAKIVO is a great product for our customers and why 16,000 of customers around the globe chose NAKIVO? Well, it's an all-in-one backup solution. You get backup.
Anton, I've got one question, Bertrand Guerre.
Sure.
In the present slide, you show some partners around cloud. Do you have I will say a favorite one, or because I see Amazon, Wasabi, Google Cloud, or one is your own backend for your solution in the cloud, or is it just because you have a plugin for this kind of solutions to these object stores?
That is correct. We are able to send backups to those object stores. This is basically the primary way of communicating with those clouds. Customers more and more oftenly use cloud environments to send their backups to them. And I would say that Amazon S3 object storage is the most popular one. And then goes Wasabi, and then goes the other clouds that we support. And also we can protect Amazon EC2 instances as servers. As many businesses run their services in Amazon, we actually support protecting and backing up those services in the cloud.
And to be complete, do you have different service classes for that? It means you're going just to S3, or you go also to Glacier for another SLA for recovery?
This question I will pass to Nick. Nick, do we have a support for Glacier at this point?
Yeah, the Glacier is in our roadmap. At this point, we're supporting only S3 and yeah, Wasabi. Glacier is not yet supported, but it's already in the nearest roadmap, so our team is working on development of this feature.
We have you on screen. I have a question here from David Norfolk from Bloor. He says, just a couple of general queries. Recovering a site after a disaster may also require the recovery of documents, contracts, key people, etc. How does NAKIVO support holistic business recovery?
I would say NAKIVO works on a VM level, so everything which is on VM, NAKIVO just takes it in a form of backup and backs it up to whatever storage it is. And well, that's one side of the coin. Another side, if we are talking about Microsoft 365, that's not on the VM level now, of course, because Microsoft, it's different structure of the data. So NAKIVO backs up all Microsoft 365 accounts for Exchange, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And this can be recovered.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. All right, let's move on. Thank you for your questions. Very interesting questions, by the way. Okay, on to the next one. I was telling about why NAKIVO is a great all-in-one backup solution. So yes, we do backup, replication, instant restore, and site recovery. So all in one. So the customers don't have to purchase multiple solutions to be able to protect their environments. They can do backup, replication, restore, and site recovery with just NAKIVO in place. We support multiple environments, including virtual, physical, cloud, and software as a service environments. I will be talking more on this later. And the software can be deployed anywhere. So you can run the software on Linux, Windows, as a virtual appliance, and as an Amazon instance, AMI instance. Also, we can deploy the software on the NAS box. So small and medium-sized businesses like to purchase NAS devices and store backups or any other type of data on the NAS devices. And
sorry, Anton, we have a couple of questions that have come in the chat. I'll go to the next one. So the next comment from David is, so not holistic business recovery then, just data/IT recovery.
So we recover servers. We back up the servers and we recover the server level data. It can be virtual server, can be physical server, can be a workstation, or can be a server in the cloud. We can also recover individual files within those servers. So for example, if you lose a physical server and it has some files that you wanted to recover, you can go into your backup and you can retrieve individual files like documents, videos, pictures, anything that has been stored on that server and that has been backed up by NAKIVO. Maybe Nick can add to this as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Anton. So that's good explanation. Yeah, so it's, well, in short, this is just a data IT recovery, right? Correct. To answer the question.
Okay. Then we have a question that came in from Enrico Signoretti, another analyst from GigaOM. 16,000 customers. What is the average size of the installation/customer?
Because we cover multiple layers of market, so we offer a product for small businesses, for enterprises, and for very large enterprises as well. I can say that our SMB average size deal is about $2,000. So it's an SMB type customer with several CPU sockets to protect. Then the mid-market enterprise, I would say about $20,000. And then we have customers that we consider large enterprises, like, for example, NOAA, the National Atmospheric Administration of the United States. The deal size with such customers is around $200,000 to $300,000.
Enrico, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Enrico.
Lovely. Back to you, Anton. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on. Another question just in from David again. If NAKIVO is a protection against ransomware, How does it deal with a delayed ransomware bomb, which doesn't explode for several months, but which time it may be embedded in backups too? Nice question.
Yes, very nice. Nick, you up for the answer?
Yeah. All right. So first of all, NAKIVO can protect you from ransomware, but by using the backups to S3 storage, and this S3 storage can support object lock. So you can lock the backups for the certain time, and no one can erase the data and modify it. That's from the first point of view. For the second point of view, well, NAKIVO, of course, provides the retention period for each backup, and NAKIVO provides up to 4,000 recovery points for every backup. You can, of course, modify this number. And let's say if your machine or your data was hit by ransomware today, so you can always recover from yesterday or from 1 week ago. So there are 2 points to answer these questions.
To complete it, Bertrand Guerre from L'Informaticien in Paris. With your connectors or plugin or the integration you've got, is it possible to create some scenario with air gap with NAKIVO? It means that you have some integration with tape or something like that that could create an air gap on the backup and make the ransomware impossible to attack your backup.
Yeah, right. That's also a good question, and also good answer for the previous one. Yeah, air gap environment is supported. First of all, NAKIVO can back up to tape drives. We support standalone tape drives and tape libraries. NAKIVO also can back up to virtual tape library from Amazon. And NAKIVO supports rotating the devices. So removable devices can be retained and rotated, and you can back up to removable drives and keep these drives disconnected from the network, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there are any more questions, feel free to post them and we continue here. I was talking about the NAS, Network Attached Storage. Many SMBs nowadays prefer NAS devices for storing their data, especially the backups. So one of the advantages of NAKIVO is to be able to run natively on top of the NAS. Thus, if you deploy a backup software onto a network attached storage, you get a so-called backup appliance, which is a self-sustained box, which can back up data to itself, and you can move this box around. And I will be talking more about the NAS later because it's a huge part of our market as well. Okay, next slide. So as you can see from this one, NAKIVO has been developing its features and has been working hard on the software for many, many years. Every year we have several major releases and a lot of minor releases. I will not take your time here to read all of the features that we released of the software, but you can just see all the hard work that our dedicated developers have been putting into making NAKIVO a solid competitor on the market and one of the best options for the customers to opt for. Latest 10.2 release has a ransomware-proof backups with Amazon S3 object log. There was a question about ransomware. So Amazon S3 object log is one of the best options to protect your data against ransomware by sending your backups to Amazon S3. We have also added SharePoint Online Backup and tenant resource allocation. Version 10.3 is coming very, very soon.
What it means very soon, Anton?
I'd say 2 months from now. So we're going to have a beta and then a release.
Do you have any disaster recovery feature? I mean, including orchestration and everything for VMware-based environments?
Yes, we do. So that's exactly the site recovery I was mentioning. So site recovery orchestration allowing you to automate and orchestrate recovery from disaster. You can pre-plan several scenarios of how the software will behave in case of a disaster. And if anything happens, NAKIVO will fulfill the disaster recovery plan and restore your environment. Actually, today we're going to show you a demo of the site recovery as well as the part of our technical demo.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll not spend too much time on the awards and recognitions. NAKIVO received a lot of awards over time. We have been the finalists at the Best of VMworld 2020. NAKIVO was selected as the best software, as the best data protection software of VMworld 2019. So a lot of awards in the history of the software. I always tell the customers, go read some reviews on the internet where experienced users leave their feedback about NAKIVO. Go on Gartner, go on Spiceworks, and you will see what the customers have to say. You can pretend to be a good product, but the customer reviews always reveal who you really are. So we are really proud that our reviews are almost always 5 stars. For example, on Gartner, we currently have 4.8 score from our customers, and we are very proud of this. As I previously mentioned briefly, NAKIVO works in multiple spaces of the market. So we cover SMB, enterprise, and MSPs, managed providers that provide backup as a service and DR as a service to their customers. And I will tell you more about the additions of the software that are purposed for those markets. Coca-Cola, SpaceX, DHL, Redison, Honda. This is just a short name of world brands that trust NAKIVO. Universities like our software as well, schools and universities, because it's affordable and it has a very good feature set. You have probably all heard about Verifone. Every day we pay, almost every day we pay going into the store to buy food, and we pay using our credit cards, phones, and the Verifone terminals help us with this. So whenever you pay using the Verifone terminal, you can know that your data is well protected with NAKIVO, because this company uses NAKIVO to protect over 100 hosts and over 1,200 VMs. They keep growing every year, and NAKIVO is being deployed at more than 60 sites currently that where Verifone has their servers. Now let's go more into the technical details of the software. I will start with the deployment options. Why the deployment is important? We don't want our customers to be able to have to purchase expensive servers just to run the software. They need to be able to save money and buy production purpose servers. Like they need to run some business operations on those expensive servers. So we try to make NAKIVO available on any possible platform. Many users like Linux. There are lots of Linux lovers. So they would deploy NAKIVO on Linux. Of course, we support Windows. And I think the most popular way of deploying the software is actually a virtual appliance. A virtual appliance is a VM, is a virtual machine with NAKIVO pre-installed, pre-packed inside. I think we have a question. You said you have about 16,000 paid customers. What are the percentages of these 3 groups? The percentages of this, I would say that the majority of the customers, like the 70% of the customers, 65% of the customers, 70% are SMBs, SMB customers. And maybe 5% are the home lab users, like very small customers that just trying to start using the product, because we have an offering for a very small users as well, like home labs, some little experimental sites, and I would say 30% are enterprise.
Okay. Anton, we also have a couple more questions again from David. So hold on, let me check that. Okay. So another question is, I don't believe that you can just set backup and forget it. You must test restore every so often, which might help you spot delayed ransomware too. I do think that there is scope to analyze backups, etc. offline for malware and changes to things that shouldn't have changed before backup. Do you offer such services? This is all in the chat.
Yeah, we'll cover this one. Good question, by the way. So NAKIVO, in fact, provides 4 ways to verify the consistency of the backups which are in the backup repository. I can say just briefly, the first way, that's called screenshot verification. That's a pretty simple one. NAKIVO does the backup of the virtual server, physical server. Then after the backup is completed, NAKIVO automatically boots up that machine and waits for some time to let this machine to be up and running and takes the screenshot. So it's kind of certification that the VM is bootable, but of course this does not guarantee the consistency of entire data. And that's just one of the simple ways we give for the customers. On a repository side, NAKIVO provides 2 ways of verifications. That would be block by block verification. That's the most accurate one. And in fact, NAKIVO verifies the hashes of the original block with the hash of the block which was created on backup repository. And it just certifies that all the backups are consistent and all the backups will be recoverable. A third method is automated check of repository by NAKIVO Backup and Replication, but it's more on a generic level. So NAKIVO goes inside and tracks all the metadata inside, tracks the consistency. That's also a valuable one, but not that accurate as that block by block verification. And the 4th step, we allow customers to manually boot up virtual machine from the compressed and deduplicated backups. This functionality is called flash VM boot, or you can do flash physical boot. And the main advantage of it that it takes a couple of minutes to boot up the VM from the backup repository directly, and then customers can go manually to that VM and perform different types of verifications of applications, patches, whatever it is. Well, another method we recommend for our customers is to always do the backup copy, of course. They can do backups on-prem and backup copy the data to offsite location or to another clouds. And in the case when the on-prem backup repository will be affected by malware, ransomware, NAKIVO will stop transferring this backup copy process. It will just identify that the data is inconsistent, and this way you will have affected backup repository which is local, but on a remote site you will have the backup repository which is not affected, so we can always recover from that one.
Is that the way you apply the 3-to-1 model?
Yeah, 3-to-1 model is totally applicable for NAKIVO. I can even demonstrate it, how it's implemented right now in my environment.
Okay. Another question just on this slide. With a minimum configuration that you propose with CPU 2 cores, 4 gigas of RAM, it means that your solution looks a lot more scale out than a scale up one.
We support both methods. You can scale out and scale on. So, well, you can scale out with NAKIVO has actually 2 main components. The one is NAKIVO server, and second one is like a data mover. And those data movers can be, you can install multiple data movers in the environment. So we have huge customers with over 7,000 VMs. What they do, they install only single server of NAKIVO and many data movers. And this way they can scale. Or, well, of course, you can increase the resources for NAKIVO server, but it's better to install multiple those data movers and process the data over different through multiple resources.
Nick, while I have you, I have 2 questions here for you. First one is from Christoph. He says, is the cloud AMI version primarily for the site recovery scenarios between on-prem data center and AWS cloud, or also for backing up cloud VMS in the ASW cloud with NAKIVO?
So NAKIVO can back up the on-prem VMs to Amazon EC2 storage, to EBS. And the same way NAKIVO can back up the EC2 instances either to Amazon storage or to on-prem as well. So both approaches are applicable for NAKIVO.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is from Enrico again. He says, does NAKIVO have any instant recovery feature? In other words, the ability to run VMS directly from the backup repository?
Yeah, we do provide this one. I've mentioned about this one. That's one of the ways how you can do verification of the backups. We call this feature Flash Boot, and it can instantly run the virtual machine directly from the backup repository.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Nick. Back to you, Anton.
Thank you very much. All right, on we go, talking about the NAS-based backup appliance. As I already mentioned briefly, NAKIVO can run on Synology, QNAP, FreeNAS, Netgear, ASUS Store, and WDNS. So by doing this, you create an all-in-one backup appliance. Those are the NAS devices right here. So NAKIVO is natively presented on their application markets, app stores, of those devices where you can go and natively download the software on top. So this gives you several advantages. First of all, the software runs on top of the device, so it doesn't consume the resources of your production environment. It takes RAM and CPU power off of your NAS. Then the speed of the backups is extremely high because the software sits natively on top of the device inside the storage and can write data much faster, avoiding some of the protocols that slow down the data transfer. And of course, I think it's a great solution because you can always move this box around. It's a great option for SMBs. Enterprises don't rely on those kind of solutions, but SMBs do. And we see this is very popular. Let's talk more about the backups. So the backup functionality of NAKIVO supports backup for virtual and cloud VMs. Customers can protect VMware, Hyper-V, Nutanix, and Amazon EC2. So as just Nick mentioned, customers can deploy the software in Amazon and they can back up their Amazon servers. A backup for physical and Windows and Linux servers and workstations is also there. We support Microsoft Office 365 backup as well, as software as a service right now is booming. More and more customers are switching to Office 365. Backup for Oracle via RMAN is supported. All the backups in NAKIVO are application aware. So if you're backing up Exchange, SQL, Active Directory, all of those live applications, all the data will be consistent in the backup and no bytes will be lost. And then I would like to talk about native backup to tape, because there was also a question if it's possible to back up to tape with NAKIVO. Yes, it is possible to back up to tape. And I like this phrase that sounded here. It was an air gap. Yes, when you back up to tape, you create an air gap. You can take the tape offsite, you can store it anywhere, and the ransomware will not get to your tape backups. I read many years ago on one of the articles that said that tape is living its last days. Well, here we are in 2021, and I can tell you from our experience that customers still actively use tape, especially large enterprises still heavily rely on the tape. And NAKIVO allows you to perform incremental and full backups to tape. You can also copy your backups to tape automatically. So you can use tape as your secondary storage for backups by doing backup copy job, backup copy to tape. question. Any Kubernetes container backup? So many workloads are moving to this environment. It would seem to becoming a table stake, is it not? From Anthony. Nick?
Yeah, we're looking at this direction. We're not supporting yet, but this field is very interesting for us, and we're just trying to estimate the market and thinking about implementing it. It's like, I would say, it's not the thing we are going to introduce in the nearest roadmap, but this is something we are looking and very much interested to develop this functionality.
Thank you. When you're backing up to tape, you will also take advantage from both software and hardware-based compressions. And from the tape, you can also perform a recovery, of course. Another question, what makes you unique versus Veeam? Okay, well, I think there are several advantages we have over Veeam. So first of all, I think this is, well, I can just name a couple of them. We can send you a long list of advantages after the meeting, of course, if you would be interested separately, just not to take everyone's time. Deployment. So Veeam doesn't have that many options for the deployment as Nakiva does. Veeam usually requires very powerful Windows servers to run itself, while Nakiva can run as the virtual appliance and use up only 2 CPUs and 4 gigabytes of RAM. Nakiva has site recovery inbuilt into the software, so you don't have to purchase any additional plugins to be able to perform site recovery with Nakiva. And the third very, very big advantage among from others is the cost. Nakiva is in some scenarios up to 4 times less expensive than Veeam. So it matters in the current world of the pandemic, of economies going down and companies slowing down. The price matters for the customers. They don't want to overpay. They want to spend funds elsewhere. So price is a big factor for us as well. Nick, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, we can add the full installation on Linux as well. So we don't require Windows at all. If customers would like to install on Windows, they can do, of course, but we provide virtual appliances which are fully Linux based, and you don't need to have anything from the Microsoft world. Another point that Nakivo, as we've said, the all-in-one solution. So we don't have any components, any plugins, any requirements to install some frameworks on the server. So the implementation is very easy and straightforward. You need 10-15 minutes to deploy the solution as a virtual appliance, and that's it. You have it up and running. And I would like to say about the deduplication of the dedupe data on a global level. I'm not sure, to be honest, how Nakivo does that one, but Nakivo dedupes the data on a global level. I know there are some vendors in the market that do deduplication on job level. And of course, deduplication on per entire backup repository level will be more effective. So customers can save up to 80% of the data.
Hey, sorry to interrupt again. I have 2 more questions. The first one is from Anthony Adstead. Any Kubernetes/container backup? So many workloads are moving to this environment. It would seem to be becoming a table stake, is it not?
We have just answered this question.
Oh, sorry, I apologize. John, I'm going to mispronounce, and I do apologize. Jean-Francois, what makes you? Done
that one as well. We've done that one as well, Lisa.
I apologize. Sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah, no. Carry on, Anton. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, it's better to make sure that questions are answered than to miss them. So don't worry about it.
Yes, good point.
We have another one.
Oh, we do have one. Anton, one has just come in from Tony Locke. Tony's from Freeform Dynamics. He's another analyst. Do you support the Linux OS in a Linux appliance, or does the customer have to handle that themselves or take out a support contract from the distributor? Would you like me to? Would you like me to read it again?
No, I understand the question. I'm just trying to think
Oh.
how to answer this better.
Oh,
It's just that you're making the point that, you know, Linux takes away the need for Windows. But again, in the smaller end of the market, Linux skills are not that common on the ground. And, you know, it can happen that people do need support. So could they contact you for problems, or would they have to go directly to somebody from the OS, the distribution that they're using?
We always support customers with issues that they have after if they have installed our software. So if they installed NAKIVO on Linux OS that we officially support, and anything goes wrong and something doesn't work, we will support them. Even if the problem is with Linux itself, we will try to help them as much as we can in this regard. So we don't tell them, okay, go talk to Linux, because yeah, obviously they won't get the answers.
It's a point worth making explicitly.
Good question.
and Anton, one more question. Again, this is from Anthony Adted at Computer Weekly. Is NAS backup in NAKIVO NDMP based?
I just would like to clarify that NAKIVO at this stage does not back up the NAS data. It just backs up the VMs and physical machines to NAS, and you can install NAKIVO server on NAS box. We are planning to add backups of the NAS data, NAS shares to be specifically, in our next releases. It's already in, it's planned for the next release, which is version 10.4. Currently, we are at the version 10.2. So that would be the answer.
Okay, great. Yes, just to add more on this, when NAKIVO sits on the NAS box, it basically pulls the backups inside. So we pull the backups from VMware server inside the NAS device. That's how it works. Okay, I was going to talk more about the direct backup to cloud. Please post more questions. By the way, I'm really impressed by the level of knowledge of the audience. Going into this presentation, I didn't know to what extent the audience is aware about the data protection market, but I see that there is some very deep knowledge here. I'm really glad to have such great questions coming in. So, nice comment, Anton. Thanks, Fred. All right, so let's talk more about direct backup to the cloud. So we support Amazon Wasabi, Amazon Web Services, and Azure. You can send backups to cloud storage providers directly from NAKIVO Backup and Replication, and NAKIVO will perform full, granular, and instant recoveries from cloud-based backups. You can also use S3 object lock to support to make your backups immutable against ransomware. This is in the latest release in 10.2. We'll be talking more on this as well down the road. Another question.
Yes, again, Anthony Adset is asking, will the NAS backup be NDMP or change data deltas like rubric, Veeam, etc., i.e. the next version?
I would say it would be changed data deltas rather than NDMP one. Well, at the things that we are going to release on the upcoming version will be that one, of course. NDMP must be considered for future releases. So yeah.
Okay. Another question: what method is used for immutable backup?
We rely on S3 technology, which allows to make the S3 object storage immutable.
But somewhere, Bertrand Gear, somewhere it means that the customer is locked in the S3 API.
At this stage, yeah, we are going to add this one for Wasabi as well. And yeah, So we are going to extend to other providers, storage providers.
Okay. Another next feature question. With your agent, it will be possible to introduce a kind of CDP, continuous data protection. Do you think of it or not?
Yes, CDP is also something we are working on already. So this would allow you to replicate data in real time. It's been worked on already for some amount of time, and I'm not sure what's the release date for this one. Cannot tell it right now, but it's in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Another question I can cover. So immutable backups are only supported for S3, not on Azure. Yes, correct. At this stage, it's only on S3. We are extending it to the other cloud providers. So this will be extended.
Okay.
Back
to you, Anton. Thank you.
Okay, I think there might be a question coming from Fred. Let me ask.
No, that was my comment to the questions. I was going to ask the questions on their behalf. Don't worry about it.
Okay. All right, let's move on then. Backup copy and archiving. So backup copy is, it goes together with backup. They're friends, the two features, because after you backup, you want to have your backup in multiple locations. So with backup copy, or as it's also known as archiving, you can send your backups offsite and to public clouds. You can also send it on-site if you have multiple storages lined up on-site. You can do this as well, but we see that most of the times customers prefer using a public cloud like Amazon, Azure, Wasabi to send their backups to. So after they have performed a daily backup, once a week, they would send the backups to the cloud. And with NAKIVO, it is possible to automate this process. So you don't have to manually send the backup copies offsite. This can be fully automated, so you can just set it and forget it. And as I just was saying, with the backup copy job, you can achieve very effective backup storage tiering. You can streamline data archival and set long-term retentions, and you will ensure that data is always available to you in multiple locations. And this will probably also reduce your cost because you don't have to buy a lot of local storage and to keep all the backups on site. And the cost of losing the backups and the risk of losing the backups when keeping them only in one copy or only on site is very high. So as you see here on little scheme, customers do daily backups to some fast local storage, then weekly backups to an offsite storage, which can be a slower type of storage, and then once a month they would offload the backups to the cloud. This is not a universal approach. Each customer does it on its own. Each customer has its own scheme. So some of them back up to cloud even daily if the bandwidth allow this. Talking more on global deduplication. Deduplication is extremely important because we want our customers to be able, again, to save money. It's all about, many of those features are targeting at saving the customers funds, so they don't have to buy a lot of storage to keep their backups. NAKIVO uses global deduplication, and this is one of the advantages NAKIVO has over the competition. So as Nick mentioned, we use global deduplication. So the data gets deduplicated across the entire backup repository, not just within every separate job. Duplicate data blocks get skipped and unique data blocks get further compressed. So in some scenarios, NAKIVO can achieve up to 80% of deduplication and compression. So the backups will be reduced by 80%. Again, this allows you to save on the storage. However, of course, enterprises like to use deduplication appliances. Deduplication appliances are very powerful machines that have a lot of resources, and most of them are targeted at doing deduplication. So we support NEC, data domain, HP Store Once, HP3PAR, NetApp, and Quantum DXI. Nakiva natively supports deduplication appliances to achieve even better deduplication and space savings. Okay, we have a question from Mary. Does global deduplication respect RBAC? Will confidential data benefit from global deduplication? Nick, do you have an answer?
Well, I didn't quite get this question about RBAC, how it's connected with deduplication.
Mary, would you like to rephrase your question, maybe?
So I'm wondering about if you are backing up a workload where you have some of the data flagged as confidential, where not everybody has access to all of the files within the VM, if that's respected when you're doing the global deduplication, if there's any potential for data leakage, if you're able to scan everything when, say, you know, an admin shouldn't have access to it, or whether it happens at a lower level so you don't have to worry about data leakage and permissions.
Well, to avoid data leakage, NAKIVO provides the encryption of the backup repository. So that's the only way how you can make sure that no one can access the backups inside.
But the system itself must have full access to all of the data to be comparing everything for the global deduplication.
Well, yeah, the system has access to the data, of course, because, well, the duplication works on a block level. So the product does not go into the files, and it just works on the level of the blocks. And it identifies the blocks which are absolutely identical and writes only the specific block to the storage. So this way you can save on storage space. But NAKIVO does not read the content of the machine of the files inside. So from the product perspective, it just works on the lower level.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I do have another question.
No.
Okay, we don't.
Okay, moving on.
Yes, so moving on to instant recovery. There was the question about instant recovery. So NAKIVO does instant VM recovery, allowing you to boot your VMware and Hyper-V VMs from backups within just a few seconds. This allows you to speed up the recovery. You can get to your VM as quickly as possible. And basically, this is, I would say, this is the quickest option to recover a full VM. After the VM has been booted, you can migrate the running VM to production if necessary to keep it forever. Instant granular recovery allows you to recover files and folders, Exchange objects, SQL objects, Active Directory objects, or any other objects from any application. We have the so-called universal object recovery, allowing you to recover any possible object from any application out there. A great way to get your individual file back if you need it really quickly without having to restore the full VM. A lot of the times, our customers need to recover just one file. So this is why we have a lot of options available for the instant granular recovery. Okay, and we have two more questions. Is instant recovery possible on bare metal?
Yeah, this is not yet possible. Instant recovery assumes creating a virtual machine and then map the data directly from the backup repository to start that virtual machine. So we cannot kind of create a virtual machine on the bare metal server, and that's technically not possible.
Do you need a reboot of the VM when moving an instant recovery VM to production? One more question.
Reboot is not required. You can move it without rebooting, and you can move it either by using NAKIVO Backup and Replication job, or you can move it from by the means of hypervisor.
Okay, thank you for the answer. If you feel that your questions weren't answered, feel free to speak up and ask clarifying question.
Oh, don't worry, Anton. We've got a good bunch of the people we've got here are not shy. So
okay, I've noticed this.
yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the full recovery. So full recovery is a standard full recovery of a VM or of a server. Everyone needs full recovery, because why would you need a backup if you cannot recover from the backup? So NAKIVO, of course, supports full recovery of your protected servers. Now, a very interesting topic is the disaster recovery. Disaster recovery with NAKIVO is covered with site recovery orchestration. Before I talk about site recovery, the fundamental underlying feature is, of course, the replication. So the ability to replicate your VMs to an offsite location where they are kept as replicas until you need them. I see a question in the chat. The lack of shyness is created artificially via consumption of blue A3 M&Ms.
No, don't worry. Some of the people here today.
Tony looks a little bit.
Some
he looks a little bit naive. Maybe it's not M&Ms.
Okay. Well,
so some people got a hamper. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the M&Ms, guys.
That's another question, but I will answer yes. I agree. All right. So site recovery. Site recovery allows you to create multiple disaster recovery workflows. Site recovery deserves to be a separate product. And many vendors out there do provide site recovery as a separate solution that goes individually without all other features like backup, etc., etc. Well, in NAKIVO, site recovery is just one of the features of our software. And it allows you to set non-disruptive schedule testing as well. So you can always test if your recovery scenario works, if it's able to meet your recovery time objective. Of course, when having a site recovery job set up, you always decrease the recovery time, because if you have to do this manually, it usually takes a lot of time. And in the case of a disaster, there is some panic involved, and if you need to recover things manually, it's gonna take a lot of time usually. But with site recovery, if anything happens and NAKIVO detects that it has to launch one of the pre-programmed scenarios, it will start recovering your infrastructure by doing a failback, re-IP, etc. So there is a lot of options you can pre-program in the site recovery job, and Nick will show them in the actual demo. All right, next to the backup for Office 365. I think we're about to hit a break. The way it is.
And Anton, we've got a couple more questions. One is from Ulrika. One is from Christoph Langer again. Christoph is asking, what did you mean with 5-in-1 backup appliance?
Nick, would you like to cover that and list the features that our backup appliance can perform?
Well, I just want to ask where this information from. Did we mention 5-in-1 backup appliance before? Was it on the slide somewhere?
No, during the discussion.
No, I think it was right at the beginning. Sorry to barge in. It's actually
I think it was on a slide.
Yeah, it was actually on my list here as well.
Good. So that was probably something that Anton, you mentioned, the 5-in-1 backup appliance.
Well, 5-in-1 backup appliance, what we mean by this? Well, it can be, you can even call it 10-in-1 backup appliance if you try to count the features that are supported by NAKIVO when you deploy the software on top of it. So it can do deduplication, it can do compression of the backups, it's a storage itself on its own, it can do replication as well, and you can backup copy to the cloud. So what we mean by this is just the variety of features you get by simply installing Nakiva on top of the box, because the box itself cannot do all of this until you deploy Nakiva on top of it. So you get a very robust backup appliance when Nakiva is deployed on top of the NAS device.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Christoph, does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, that's okay, thank you.
Lovely. And Ulrika has another one. When it comes to ransomware, these answers just started a wild discussion with my in-house security.
It's not a question, it's just a comment.
But ransomware stuff. So Ulrika's other half is actually also a tech journalist. So I can imagine the discussions at the dinner table. Anton, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, backup for Microsoft 365. Nakiva can protect Microsoft 365 data from accidental deletions, ransomware attacks, and insider threats. We support Exchange Online, OneDrive for Business, and SharePoint Online. I will be moving a little bit faster here since I really want to show you the demo of the actual software, and I'm afraid we can run out of time if we don't speed up here. So we support SharePoint Online Backup as of version 10.2, can be downloaded and tested right now. And as I mentioned, we support ransomware-proof backups with Amazon S3 object lock. So the retention periods are set for as long as you need using the so-called WARM, write once, read many model. And once set, the retention period cannot be shortened or disabled, even by the root user. So if someone gets access of your root account, they won't be able to remove your backups or disable your retention period, to shorten it to like 1 day, etc., to be able to damage your backups or leave you without backups at all. More on the pricing. So Nakiva is licensed in 2 ways. It's perpetual and subscription. So here we have 6 editions. The basic one is I would say for home lab user, just to protect several virtual machines. The Pro Essentials and Enterprise Essentials are, as you can see, $199 per socket and $299 per CPU socket or per server or per the workstation, depending on what you want to license. And they're intended for small and medium businesses that have a limited number of VMs to protect. And then Pro and Enterprise Edition, they have the same features as the Pro Essentials or Enterprise Essentials, but they are unlimited in number of CPU sockets, servers, or workstations that you can protect. So with the Essentials editions, we enable small businesses to have some data protection in place, fully featured, fully functional. Pro and Enterprise are more targeted towards the enterprise level customers. And then we have the Enterprise Plus for those customers that also need to back up Oracle RMAN. Another model is the subscription model. Customers can purchase the licenses on the subscription-based approach. So here we charge per the workload. And workload is a VM, workload is a server, workload is a workstation. Actually, 1 workload equals to 3 workstations. So depending on what you need to license, it's pretty simple. You want to license 10 VMs, you need to license 10 workloads, basically. And you have to select the edition you would like to go for. Our website has a very detailed comparison of all of the editions. So I would recommend you to go to the website and actually check it out, how the editions compare with each other. But back to the question, how Nakiva compares to other vendors, if you compare our price with some of the competition, and especially the competitor which was brought up today, you will see that Nakiva, in some scenarios, in some editions, are 3-4 times less expensive. And of course, the software as a service subscription pricing also super affordable, just $10 per user per year. So you pay once and you don't have to worry about this for the entire year. We have 24/7 support. It's a complete 24/7, 365 phone, chat, email. The 24/7 comes with the per workload subscription. If you buy perpetual, you'd have to upgrade to 24/7. And for those customers that would like to switch to NAKIVO from a legacy backup product, we have a simple way as well. It's called the trade-in promotion. So you can trade in your legacy backup software for NAKIVO. And the prices start at 180 sockets, super affordable. We want customers, we actually had situations when customers paid several millions of dollars for a backup software and for servers to maintain the backup software. And then they had to switch to NAKIVO because it just didn't work. And of course, the trade-in promotion helps because you don't feel like you pay once again for the backup software. You feel that reduced price when you have to buy a new software to replace the old one. Okay, we were going to have a Q&A here, but we did have a lot of questions in the process. Maybe any more questions that come in?
There is a question that just came in from Tony Locke. Do you only price in US dollars? What about pounds, euro, etc.?
Of course, we have the pricing in pounds and euros available to our customers, and they're also available on the website.
Okay.
Okay. Then I think we have some time to actually show you the demo. So, telling about the software is one thing. Everyone says their software is easy to use and great, but let's take a look at the action. And most of the times when we show the software to anyone who doesn't know how to use a data protection software, it looks very easy to them and very easy to use, very easy to deploy. So let's take a look. Nick, please.
Right, so that's the user interface of NAKIVO Backup and Replication. There are a couple of jobs created. So I would like just to point first thing, as we've mentioned before, once our prospects are coming to NAKIVO website and they would like to evaluate the product, they get those lists of installers, which is Windows, Linux, virtual appliances, Nutanix appliance, installers for NAS, and even Raspberry Pi, and customers can install the product on Amazon EC2. In my case, I'm using this one, VMware Virtual Appliance. That's the easiest way to deploy the product on VMware environment. And as I've said, 10 minutes and you have the product up and running. And I'm referring to the virtual appliance via the web browser with the specific port. The first thing that customer needs to do, of course, to evaluate the product, they need to go through the settings and just to configure the product so NAKIVO can have an access to the things which are required to be backed up or replicated. So let me just guide you through those steps so you can see what we can support in terms of backups in the product. So once I go to inventory, I can add vCenter server or standalone ESXi host. That can be also Hyper-V host or cluster, physical machine, both Windows and Linux, Microsoft 365 account, Nutanix AHV cluster. We can add the account for AWS or Wasabi, either to backup AWS instances or either to backup to AWS or to Wasabi. Moreover, you can backup Oracle databases. In my example, I have some environments already added, like this one, Amazon, and NAKIVO can see actually all instances running inside. So if required, I can back up those instances either on-prem or to the Amazon Cloud S3, for example. Then once the customer adds the things to the inventory, the environments, customer needs to create, of course, a repository to do the backup. So we provide multiple choices where you can store the backups. That can be local folder where NAKIVO is installed. Those can be shares, Amazon EC2 storage, Amazon S3 storage, Wasabi, SAS. SAS is designed for Microsoft 365 objects. So we require to have a special backup repository for Microsoft 365. And in the case we have enterprise-grade customer, those customers use deduplication appliances, most of them. So you can use integration with dedupe appliances to store the data on those appliances. So natively we support the integrations with EMC data domain, and then HP StoreWANS Catalyst and HydroStore from NEC. Back to repositories. Once I have backup repository created, well, I can do the transfer of my environments to the repository. I just want to show quick information about those data movers. We call it transporters. And as I said, you can deploy multiple transporters and redirect the jobs through different transporters just to scale out with NAKIVO. Back to the dashboard. On a dashboard, you can create backup and replication jobs. Again, this can be backup for VMware, vSphere, EC2, Hyper-V. You can backup physical machines, Acropolis hypervisor, Microsoft 365, and Oracle's. Replications are supported for vSphere, EC2, and Hyper-V. A backup copy allows you to move the data from one repository to another one, which is either on public cloud or private cloud. And this one is site orchestration, which I'm going to show. So that's the orchestration tool, which is designed for to build your DR plan and test that plan. Moreover, you can create reports, you can group the jobs. And in terms of recoveries, NAKIVO provides you with granular recovery level. So NAKIVO can recover on the level of individual files. On the level of the objects, this would be related to Exchange, SQL, and Active Directory. Well, universal object recovery allows you to quickly map the data from the backup repository to any target. This can be your laptop or some virtual machine, a physical one. Then you can export the backups. This feature can be used, for example, if you would like to store the backups on a long term to archive those backups. Let's say you have end of year backup. So you can, again, store these backups in some air-gapped environment. All it can do is just to export the backup into either vmdk format or vhdx format. Another use case can be, of course, the migration from between the hypervisors. If the customer would like to switch from Hyper-V to VMware, so they can export the backups to vmdk format and then create a new virtual machine which will use that vmdk as a disk. And then, well, recovery for Microsoft 365, failover and failback for replicas. And here we have the recovery for Hyper-V, which is flash boot. We mentioned it. That's the instant boot of the machines, and full recovery and full database recovery of the Oracle database. So that was kind of quick overview. Over here, you have the list of the jobs you created before. What we can do, by the way, I have already implemented the scenario of the 3-to-1 rule where we do the backups. I have on-prem backup. This on-prem backup is doing a recurring backup for me. And once this on-prem backup is completed, I'm sending the backups to the different locations. So this job number 2 sends the backups to the tape drive. And the job number 3 sends the backups to S3 storage, and this storage, it says target storage, Amazon S3 object locked. This way, we keep 3 copies of the data on 2 different medias, and 1 copy is offsite. Well, to demonstrate you how easy it is to work with NAKIVO, I can create any type of job. It can be either backup or replication. Let me just go to the backup job and quickly go through that backup job, and then I will concentrate on site recovery as well. So there are 5 simple steps what you can, which guide you through the backup process. So first step asks you source, what you would like to backup, and you can select any container here. Can be host or data center or entire ESXi or resource pool.
I'm sorry for interrupting. We only have 10 minutes, so please try to go faster to show more as much as possible.
All right, thanks. I will be quick with this one. So I will select a couple of VMs. Well, just to note that we provide the policies. Policy allows you to select those VMs based on some specific criteria. Let's say the VMs can be tagged specifically, and NAKIVO automatically take those VMs to include it into the backup job. Destination would be where we would like to back up the data. The frequency of the backups can be daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, periodical, and you can run one backup job after another. So periodical backups can be even 10 minutes. So, well, it can be even 5 minute or 1 minute, but well, since NAKIVO works on a snapshot level, we need to be sure that the snapshot will be created within that time. So the recommended is 5-10 minutes is fine if it's minimal time. Then NAKIVO provides the GFS backup rotation. You can keep the versions of your backup for years, for months, for weeks, for days, and you keep up to 4,000 recovery points for any backup job. The last option is allows you to provide the settings of this backup job. So first of all, NAKIVO can do app-aware backups for critical apps like Exchange, SQL. NAKIVO utilizes CBT to detect the change blocks. If not supported for some reason, NAKIVO can switch to proprietary method, which is CBT-like method. Well, this method was designed by our developers. Then to speed up the data transfer between the sites, if you transfer the data to offsite location or to the public cloud, you can enable network acceleration. Essentially, this gives you the possibility to compress the data before the transfer, then transfer it. Encryption can be done during the transfer, and encryption can be done at the rest as well. So this setting is related to the encryption during the transfer of the data. VM verification, as I've said before, it does, well, once the backup will be completed, NAKIVO will automatically switch on the VM from the backup and take the screenshot of that VM. Then, yep.
So the about the encryption, what do you use for key management?
Well, this encryption, this encryption is during the transfer. So it's kind of embedded technology. That's technology. Basically, there is this data mover NAKIVO transporter, which encrypts the data and moves it to another transporter, which will decrypt the data on the target site.
Is it randomly generated? Is it the same key for everybody? So if I discover the key, I can encrypt all the NAKIVO traffic. Is it per user? I don't know. What is the key?
Well, I'm not sure how it's technically from the development point of view. Most of all, this is randomly generated. Okay. I'm not sure how to answer it. We utilize AES 256-bit encryption in this case, but how the generation process, I'm not sure, to be honest. It's more question to developers, guys. Yeah, NAKIVO can skip swap files to eliminate unnecessary data and skip unused blocks. Then you have a chance to indicate how frequently you would like to use full backups. And moreover, you can truncate Exchange, SQL logs, you can run pre and post job scripting. There are multiple settings related to how you would like to transfer the data. So NAKIVO can support direct SAN access, hot add technology to speed up the data transfer. And then NAKIVO can limit the bandwidth which is consumed by NAKIVO. So you can enable bandwidth throttling rules and apply these rules either on a global level or on per job level. All right, I will click on finish.
Nick, sorry to interrupt.
Yep.
There's a question from Ulrika. Ulrika was asking, can you configure what RPOs you want to achieve?
This more will be related to site recovery. So I will move to site recovery and we can configure over there the RPO time.
Thank you.
Let me just explain you again what site recovery is. We'll switch to different environment. Yep. So site recovery allows you to build the DR plan and test this plan on a recurring basis. For example, I will use the existing job, which is already created, site recovery, add it. So that's an orchestration tool, which includes many actions inside. In my case, I have first action, which is, I will edit this one, which is just send a simple email to CEO notifying him that there is a disaster and we are moving workloads to the DR side. And you can indicate that this site recovery can run on production only mode, because there is also test mode. So testing is on a recurring basis. So we don't need to send our CEO email every day. We just can indicate that let's run this on a production mode only. So that's the action number 1 as an example. Those actions in the left are presented, so I can move them over to the right, so to include them into the site recovery job. The second step I have is to stop VMware VMs. So I have on my environment some test servers which are used for, those test servers are running on the R side. But once the disaster is happening, I would like to stop those test services because they are just for testing purposes. So I create a specific job. I will edit it again, and I will create the policy. It says all the VMs which are sitting on this host and which are on power on state must be powered off. NAKIVO will automatically pick up all VMs and it will shut those VMs down. So we free up resources and then we can perform the failover. So failover job allows you to spin the replica up instantly, and yeah, this just spins up the VM. After that, we can wait for 3 minutes. Let's say this server, let's imagine this server is Active Directory, so we need to recover it first because on this server, there are many applications that rely to. So we need to recover it first. We need to wait for 3 minutes to let it be up and running. Then we can even check the condition. So if the server is existing or not, if it's running or not. And then, well, we can maybe perform another failover action, which is failover of the replica here. And we can save it. So this way you can build this disaster recovery plan. Moving to the next step, you can enable network mapping. So you can create network mapping rules and you can perform the re-IP. Then to test this, all these actions can be tested on a recurrent basis. So as I said, you can test it every day, or maybe you would like to test it on Sunday only. So once you're back on Monday to work, you can see the test scenario was completed. And options allow you to set up the recovery time objective. So this means if those actions over here will be completed within 5 minutes, then this job will be considered as successful. So we save it, and this site recovery job is running on a recurring basis for us, and we verify the bootability of VMs, we verify the failover procedures, and so on. Once the disaster is happening, all you need to do is just to click a single button and run it, and you can say that you can run it on a production. So this is either planned failover or emergency failover. If it's emergency failover, NAKIVO will immediately recover all those environments as it was configured before. Well, of course, you can manually test this one. You can run the job and test it again on demand. So this gives the convenience for our customers to build this plan and making sure that this plan is achievable and they can recover anytime from any disaster. Yeah, that's basically it from my side. I would be happy to answer the questions since we're limited on time, if any.
Any other questions, anyone? Feel free to either put them in the chat or ask here. We have a few more minutes, then we will be moving to the breakout room with the NAKIVO speakers. So, right, there is a question in from Christoph. Must the replica VM be up and running, or can you replicate to offline VM?
So the replica VM, it's in fact...
during normal replication, sorry, just during normal replication.
So the replica VM is always offline, and once you need to perform the failover job enables to make the replica VM up and running. So it does not need to be on.
Okay, thank you.
To save resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, dear viewers, for coming here today. And I want to wish you health. The most important thing right now we can think about is good health. So good health to all of you, to your families, and stay safe. Thank you so much.
Very much.
Thanks, Anton.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anton.